Dear Dhamma friends, dear sisters and brothers, Dhamma friends, today's question and answer session. As usual, we'll start with written questions to start the session. So we will request Vincent to present written questions, please.
With your permission, may I present the questions we have for today? Today we have got 11 questions, and I will begin with 2 questions asking about the 11 facets together to save time. Good afternoon, Bhante. This morning you talked about 11 facets or facts. Can you please explain again the last 2 facets? I can remember only 9 of them, namely past, present, future, in and out, gross, subtle, like and dislike. The second question, could you restate what the 11 facets are? Dear Bhante, thank you.
That confusion is, when I am repeating, it was not in the proper order. That would have given the confusion. In the Pali it says, Atita Nagata Pachupana, that means the present, future and the past. And then gross and subtle, near and far, in and out, pleasant and unpleasant. These are the 5 categories: time-wise, past, future and the present, grossness, subtleness, in and out, near and far, desirable and undesirable. Others are opposite points, couplets.
Next one, dear Bhante, please explain what are the differences between mindfully walking and regular daily walking.
So this is a very good question to verify. Jnanaponika, in his writing, in his Power of Mindfulness, he says, you take care in order to not to stumble upon stakes while walking. That means you are mindful when you are walking. Otherwise you can stumble upon something and fall down. That is because you are walking unmindfully. That's the example he has given. So when you are walking, if you know you are walking, if you are aware you are walking, that is called mindful. But when you are walking while talking and looking and doing something, you may be walking but you do not walk. That is the way, and it is not limited to walking while you are eating, while you are brushing your teeth, while you are taking a bath, or when you are doing whatever the activity you do. If you know it, as far as you do, I would say know the posture, that is the way we can say, and there only we can understand most of the time. We are not mindful on our posture or our body, and often goes just like the 11 facets, past and the future, and outside, unpleasant. So when these things happen, it's a very clear indication you are not mindfully here and now. So therefore, when and where someone is reporting that I am mindful, I used to ask, how do you know you are mindful? Then he or she has to give witness, verify how to do that. Often you can verify whenever the mind becomes unmindful, when the mind becomes bewildered and astray, and when it comes back to walking position. How do you know that mind came back to your walking? There you may say, and now I can feel the touch of the heel, or touch of the soul, or weight of the body weight kind of thing, indicates on the way back journey from the unmindful situation to mindful situation. So that we have to introduce at the outset. As you start mindfulness in walking, give stand still and feel the two weights equal in both the legs, and then when you do walking, you can see the weight shifting. That will be a indication or symptoms as to whether you are mindful or not.
Dear Bhante, what is the importance of eating 2 meals a day and abstaining from eating after noon? 2. Why is coffee okay to drink in the monastery when it disturbs the mind? 3. Yogis don't eat mushrooms, but Buddhist monasteries and lay people do. Please explain why. 4. Which monasteries do you recommend for Westerners for long-term cultivation and study? What if one just speaks English and no Pali, Chinese or any other language?
The first thing about the meals, it says 1 meal a day from noon, from the dawn to the noon. Or sometimes you can split it into, but that morning hours considered as one single meal. So evening you are free to do your meditation, not to worry about the food. And so it is recommended as 1 meal. You may take it as a split, but from dawn to the noon, that is the Vikala Bhojana, the 6th precept we have taken. If you are going to take solid food, staple food, from dawn to the noon. And after noon, we allocate time for meditation. So if you can resort to the 6 precepts, you have enough time. And having a heavy meal and going to the sleep in the night is the most of the time it's a cause for digestive troubles. And many lay people, they are quite prepared for the night or the dinner, and they have heavy meal and then go to the sleep. But in the daytime, while they are working, they are not taking a very heavy meal. So when the monks are going on Pindapata, when you want alms rounds, they are not going to get so much of rich foods, but they get 1 meal a day. And early part of the Buddhist dispensation, after the 45 years of the Buddha's living on the earth, early 20 years, the monks used to go even in the evening. They used to take even the dinner, but later, seeing the disadvantage, the Buddha imposed the rule not to go outside, not to go out afternoon, even for meal or any kind of thing. So lay people are released. They have nothing to worry about the monks coming on alms rounds, and the monks have enough time for meditation. That's the way it is being reasoned out. What's the second part?
Drinking coffee.
Yeah.
And then we have mushrooms.
The coffee, with caffeine, and if you have sleeping problems, sleepiness, sliminess, it is, for some other people it may be disturbing, for others it is keeping energy. So, according to the Burmese way, they are not allowed to take even plain tea, or they are not taking coffee also. They consider somewhat it is like food. So they don't. But in Sri Lanka and Thailand, I think, they are allowed to take plain tea and the coffee. And not all the people get this kind of agitation by coffee. So it's an open issue. There's no compulsory. You have to drink or not to drink. It is up to you. And the mushroom, usually we consider as a vegetable. It's also individual decision. There's no sect-wise or country-wise or language-wise difference. As you like, you can continue.
The last one, the monasteries do recommend for Westerners for long time cultivation.
There are some Westerners in Sri Lanka, and they are publishing their views, and I think Venerable Mittavihari, and he recommend, according to his own experience, and the Nissarana where I live, also we have foreign monks and the foreign meditators, but residential is possible only for the males. Females, there are some of the places I can recommend, and there are no regular teachers over there. If you know the way, if you know the monastic code, you can spend time. And often your 4 requisites will be taken care. You have to have your own meditation method. And if you are living in a place like Nissarana where I am, and regular instructions, interviews are there. So you have to visit, what are the websites, good websites? Venerable Mittavihari? Metta.lk.
You type monasteries in Sri Lanka, in Google that you get it.
Yeah, and Metta.lk is one of the person, is a Danish monk, been in Sri Lanka, he can speak Sinhala also. He is maintaining a retreat, website. We have our one, it is Nissarana.lk. It is not talking about other monasteries, but all the detail for the newcomers you have there in our websites.
Next question.
Yeah.
Dear Bhante, is breathing the only object for sitting meditation? Whenever I sit and put my attention on breathing, muscles around my heart tighten. Lock my ventricles, my breath becomes difficult and shallow. My heart aches. When this happens, should I keep focusing on breathing, or have my attention on the tightness of the chest, or anything else to relax tight chest? But this problem doesn't happen when I walk or lie down. Thank you so much for your advice.
So both the talks, I try to keep the issue open. I took breath as an example, and I mention each and every time, it can be rising and falling of your abdomen or your sitting posture. So this is the answer for the early part of your question. The breath is as an example we take. Whatever prominent is what you have to take. But when you're listening to the balanced part of the essay, it says, these are the signs to indicate you are mindful. You feel the heart tighten. You feel tense. You feel this and that. And that indicates mind is here and now. It is in the body. So take it as a good sign. Continue with, and while you are continuing, you can see the changes of this tightness. You can see the changes in this tense nature. That means you are advancing. So therefore that signal came from that side. You have to just continue with it without preconceived idea the breath only must be the object, others are wrong, or the tension and the tightness what you explain are not always distractions. They are good signs that you are mindful. So you can continue.
Dear Bhante, now that I understand that the root of suffering is desire, hatred and ego, therefore sometimes I find it hard to find the right motivation to get things done. Any suggestions? Thank you.
So that motivation theory is a very good one, because people are being motivated to do something, and ultimately whenever you gain the result or the desired results, still you are not happy, still you are motivated. Then some people keep on research, doing new things, and some people look back, what motivation stirred me up or catalyzed me, and there you find whatever you gain, whether you are successful in your endeavors or not, the motivation is there. So, therefore those who are failure in their life, they are not experimenting properly, but we have certain amount of success. And even after you succeeded, still the motivation is there. So some people look into the motivation. The motivation basically comes from egotistic idea, conceit and the desire. And if you know the root cause or proximate cause for this motivation, it is an everlasting process. So if you are going to feed it, if you are going to fertilize it will be gathering momentum, never stops. Instead, you can look at the motivation and see the egotistic and conceited, desired people keep on practicing. But when the mindfulness comes into being, as he mentioned yesterday, mindfulness and the progress and creativity in the day-to-day life, there's a huge walk in between. So when you keep on practicing, whenever the mindfulness gain the grounds, you can be still motivated, but not for luxuries, but only for utility. Can you stop at the basic needs or utility level, or are we work like puppets or machines, keep on motivated and going? Ultimately, our own earnings will work negatively upon us, and our mental and physical health will be upset. So mindfulness is, yes, going again sometimes about this self-centered or self-motivated kind of thing, desired and the conceited. Not at the early part. When you keep on practicing only, you can feel it. And so therefore you have to see the difference between the utility value and the luxury. And earning for the sake of earning, or earning to have your sustenance or basic needs. So this is where the mindfulness give a margin, how much to continue and where to stop. And then onward, it will not be a head-to-head fighting with the motivation theory and the mindfulness. So, motivation, if you do not know, you become a slave to your own motivation. If you know this is happening through the motivation, then you can think about to make you sit as your servant and stop at the proper level. So that individual, one person to person is changing. So whenever we are teaching mindfulness in a preventive way for the children, it's a question. By be mindful, will they lose the interest to learn? Parents have that kind of doubt. And lucky enough, the other side of the picture is there. They are learning, but no ethical values, no cultural values. Then that teaching is valuable. So where is the balance? So we are now in this situation as far as the preventative way of mindfulness is concerned. But whenever you become middle-aged, no problem, because you learn the disadvantage of this materialism and the endless productivity, endless creativity, and mindfulness give the monitoring not to exceed and not to stop halfway. The balance is there. So if you believe mindfulness, it will balance it. The internal, external relationship and environmental pollution, global warming and polluting of your mind, everything will be taken care. So let the mindfulness to take the helm, and then it knows where to go and where to stop. Mindfulness is always working hand in hand with the diligence. So it is kind of an energy to keep your mind up, keep your bodily health concerned, and know the limits. So it is not an accelerator, or it's not a decelerator, it's a monitoring process. So very difficult to decide from unmindful mind. And the mindfulness become your leading thing. Mindfulness is take care about the balance.
Dear Bhante, on my way to New York yesterday, the small passenger aircraft I was traveling in hit an area of turbulence and shook violently. It felt like we also lost some feet in altitude. By closing my eyes and becoming mindful of the breath, I was able not to feel the anxiety and fear that is inevitable in such a situation. My question is, had the aircraft plunged in and hit the ground, or indeed in any situation of a sudden death, how does one prepare one's mindfulness to stay calm and steady and accept the inevitable, even if it is painful and scary? I do not want anxiety and fear to be my last state of mind prior to my next birth, as I fear it will take me several steps back from the meditative journey I have come thus far, and make my good goal of liberation even more elusive. Thank you.
Had that accident happened, no question. As the accident did happen, so you came safely and then question. So then you would have announced only 10 questions today. Understand? Okay. So the second thing is that recently we read the young football team caught up in the cave and they are very nicely meditating. No problem. Otherwise they would have hit each other and run out of air, run out of food and everything. And now people explain how when you are meditating, not only the anxiety, the necessity of the oxygen also reduces. Necessity of the food also reduces. And the Buddha, there's one particular sutta, Sotanudhata Sutta, and whereby the Buddha mentioned that if someone heard about mindfulness, theoretically, there's such a faculty, such a mental concomitant in our mind, it is a birthright. We are already born with mindfulness. Datta, and he take care, he inferentially give a second thought about, yes, I am born with mindfulness, and some good friends and the true people is asking you to cultivate it, parichita, and then you feel it, yes, that is good. Manasanupekkita, and he contemplate and practice. And while practicing, you learn the then and there benefits of the mindfulness, that even the breath is gross, or even the breath is subtle, or even the breath is unperceivable, just like a air pocket, low pressure situation, you feel like sudden drops, nothing to worry. And you are learning it. And sometimes mind go astray, mind go unmindful, bewildered, not to worry. It will come back. Likewise, when you are practicing parichita, manasanupekkita, then whenever the mindfulness come up to that level, even the worst scenario at the death, you will be reborn in a better place because of your practice, if you believe in the rebirth. That means when and where you install this mindfulness software into your computer, and once it is incorporated and seasoned, in a trouble situation, mindfulness take care about, take the helm and do the best. So therefore, in an accident or in a serious disease or kind of thing, you can see the mindfulness knows what to do, rather than your rational mind. Rational mind can run panic. And if you are associating with unmindful people, that's the worst thing can happen. They will mess up everything. Let the mindfulness to take care. Mindfulness will never taken you for a ride. And that is why the Buddha says, whenever you practice mindfulness, you will gain the results, reap the harvest benefit when you have fallen sick. You can understand, mindful will never leave you. It's so credible thing. It gives the companionship with you and keep the mind in the middle pace, not to get depressed or over-elated. So that is why mindfulness That's the way mindfulness is giving the credibility. And I recommend you, there are some free distribution, some free copies of Power of Mindfulness. Of course, last time I took 1,000 copies to Toronto, and there may be some. Yesterday, there were a few I took it. And read the first 2 pages. Venerable Jnanaponika is a German monk, is giving an introduction about the mindfulness. You are to verify it, you are to prove it. So whenever you understand, whenever you experience little ups and downs in your meditation, ups and downs in the day-to-day lives, and ups and downs in your aeroplane, you see mindfulness become very, very active. And keep the pace. And when I took my retreat in 1979 with the Indian master Munindraji, he told, slowly you are learning to face the difficulties in the life, and whatever the gravity of the difficulties, mindfulness is always work as a pacemaker and like a peacemaker. And one day you will experience the death. You will rehearse the death. And even then you can find mindfulness is undisturbed. This is the way you are preparing your mind to understand the first truth, the truth of suffering. Day by day you are putting up your immunity level, the forbearance. You are not escapism. You are just facing the situation. And I read some of the near-death experience. It's a very interesting area. And people in the very hard, very difficult situation, they remember very clearly, very crystal clear what is happening. So exactly the same thing you will gain in mindfulness. That is, therefore, it is the best gift if you can give it to the second generation, if you can give it to your parents, if you can give it to your dear and near ones. But whether they will take it or not, it's a different issue. So when and where you met up with accidents or disturbances, the mindfulness come and rescue, and it will become your best friend. So therefore, you can say mindfulness is the only thing you are doing towards your well-being, credible thing. And if you have any compassion, if you have any well-being about yourself, give the chance to the mindfulness to take the helm, become the chairman, and mindfulness will take care about the thing. Therefore, these retreats or these talks and everything is not to introduce mindfulness, because mindfulness is a part and parcel of your life, as far as you are a human. It's to say, give the priority to the mindfulness, give the chair, give the helm, and then mindfulness will take care, and it will facilitate all the other abilities you have when the time is ripened. Only give the mindfulness a chance. But I am stressing in Satipasala and the mindful school is give a preventative kind of approach to the mindfulness. Don't reduce it to a therapeutic. If you have done beforehand, definitely it will help you when you are in a disturbed situation in the low pressure pockets, even in your day-to-day life.
Dear Bhante, the first day I had a hard time settling into the body and getting used to the particular chairs we have here. Scanning the body and returning to the breath seemed to help with finding the proper alignment, so I could finally relax and settle into the body. Today, all bodily sensations dropped away except for the breath. I felt as I do when I doze off, except I was aware of the breath and that I was not asleep. Hard to describe the sensation, like asleep but not asleep. This is just deep relaxation. There is a sense of deep concentration on the breath. Thank you, Bhante. Paul.
As far as the mind is not calm and mind is not mindful, you find fault with the seat and the cushion and the comfort of your substrata. But just look at the cat. Wherever it is going, it's very comfortable. Whether you sit on a chair, whether you sit on a rock, or whether you sit wherever it may be. Because he knows the comfort. He's not asking about the bedding. Wherever it may be. So likewise, the other example is given as a turtle. Wherever it goes, it carries its own tent. Tuck in, sleep. There's one nice photo. There the one sage is sleeping upon a turtle. So we have to learn. We are teaching our children how to be a fish, how to be a cat, how to be a turtle. Slowly, mindfully, silently. So not that the external things are not important. It's important at the beginning. Later, you know whatever the situation, how to find the equilibrium and to settle. So therefore, more you become mindful, wherever you go. The Buddha, he was Buddha to kings to be. He was the second in command. And he left and lived the life as a beggar. 45 years. So happiest man on the earth. He left the palace, went there, and one day in the cool morning, he was living on a fallen down leaves and covered from the head to the toe with the robe. And another Brahmana, the high caste person, came and started doing some rituals close by. And when the dawn happens, he see another person is close by. And he approached the Buddha and asked, "What about the last night? Did you sleep well?" Then the Buddha says, "I am also one among the people, others, those who are sleeping well. Even though I am sleeping outdoor on the layer of the fallen down leaves, he is happy." So when the mind is tamed, when the body is tamed, wherever you go, you are like a cat. Otherwise, you are making so much of complaints. Very first retreat, as I mentioned, when Mr. Muninda, he told, even if you are going to sit on a pillow of air, still you are uncomfortable when 15-20 minutes go, if you are not mindful. If you know how to be mindful in these, all the bodily feelings, you consider this as a symptom of mindfulness and continue where your tolerance level is increasing. Wherever you go, you carry your mindfulness just like a turtle. You tuck in and sleep. Or you behave like a cat. Wherever you go. So therefore, once the mind is fairly tamed with the mindfulness, you feel the world is much with loving kindness. It is much greener and it is much lovelier than earlier what you see, what you thought.
Next. Sorry, Bhante. Just to clarify yesterday's question, if we suddenly have uncomfortable or scary thoughts, is it okay to let them play out without fear of manifesting them in real life? Or should we suppress them? Thank you.
So whenever such a thing happens, you can be indifferent, or you can promote them, or you can suppress them. So whenever you are not mindful, what we do is either escape by suppressing or brooding upon them, and then still you are wasting time. The third option is just to be indifferent. By being indifferent, you are not giving any prominence, positive or negative, so lesser chances to remain in your memory, it will go off. But it's difficult. When such a scary thoughts happen, you feel like either suppressing them or entertaining them, brooding upon them. That is what we call the untrained mind. When you learn with mindfulness, you add the third option, that is, they come due to their due course. When the course is disappeared, they disappear. There's nothing remain unless otherwise you encounter with them. By your encountering and meddling with them only, they stay. One Mr. Venerable Buddhadasa from Thailand, he says, when you show in the traditional film hall, in the screen, there may be a waterfall, and you are observing it. But you know, whatever the time waterfall is happening, the screen never get wet. Or if you are going to show a volcanic bursting, the screen never get burned. Likewise, your mind is just a screen. Just let them come and go. For that, you must be prepared for the next moment, rather than brooding upon the good or bad. The last, one before the last, this letter mentioned that there are some in meditation, there's nothing. Even the breath is not there. You don't know where it is. And that is the point where no good, no bad. Mind is balanced, and mind read it as non-existence. Your existence is always with the extreme positives and negatives. When the mind comes closer and closer to the middle, things are happening, but no memory. Nothing, there's not worthwhile thing. So ultimately, when you wake up, you can't remember what happened. So it is not a sleep. But you can understand whenever it is come to the middle, you never consider as an experience. You can see a seesaw when the children, they wish to sit on the furthest end because this is the most dramatic area going up and down. But imagine when you are coming closer and closer to the middle, the seesaw effect is less. No thrills, no frills, not dramatic. So exactly the mind from the forgetting the extremes, slowly come to the middle. When come to the middle, it becomes unexperienceable, no perception like. So ultimately mind go into a cliff. Mind go into a hiding area, because there it is not titillating you. So that is the place where you can find a peace of mind, but mind naturally never happy to go into that situation. It is going to the extremes and making stories, making fabrications, and brooding upon that, and definitely you are spoiling the next moment to come, yet to come. So when one should become mindful, let that bad thing or good thing to go and be prepared for the next thought moment. It is as fresh as ever. So believe it rather than brooding upon the already happened thing, good or bad.
Dear Bhante, someone asked about right livelihood yesterday. Aside from becoming a monastic, how can one figure out and choose a suitable way profession or livelihood?
There are three terms Buddha mentioned: Upasaka, Aranyaka, and Pandupalasa. Upasaka means layperson come and volunteering and living upon the basic needs of the center. And under such circumstances, the resident monks must take care about his basic needs. And second thing is Aranyaka. That means he has decided to renounce the house, go into the forest, but not decided which monk and which tradition, which forest he is going to live. And they are also usually depending upon the living in the monastery. And the other one is Pandupalasa, as he knows I am a candidate to become a monk, and he also live and he share with all the four requisites of the monks. All these three people, three names, are usually living in forest. And in the nunneries, the females, the devotees also can make. Likewise, you can test it before becoming a monk or fully committing into a monkhood. You can live with there as, I think in Chinese monastery also you have some volunteering tasks. You can come and register as a volunteering. and you depend upon the facilities here, and you help. Not at the whole time meditating. Whenever the time permits, you meditate. Likewise, you can do it in a piecemeal basis, gradual basis. I think that is much better rather than directly jump into the full-time monkhood. You can do as you like.
Yes. Here, Bhante, when one is not feeling motivated, how can one motivate one's mind to keep meditating? Sometimes the thought occurs, why am I meditating? What is the point of purpose of me developing this skill? Please advise. Thank you.
So this is, when you feel you are not motivated, there's something separate, and if you wish to motivate someone else for meditation, I consider it as a crime. Don't do it. That he or she must understand. So this is what the converting of the people, and that is the worst thing I find. Don't press someone. Useless. You can understand, even you feel, but you can't. So that is the mind. But I would like to ask, understanding that I am motivated is a good knowledge or bad knowledge from that particular person, if he or she is happy to answer. Understanding I am not motivated. Is it a good knowledge or bad knowledge? That knowledge is good or bad. Then I can work it out according to his or her view. Then we can do it. But for the asking for the sake of asking, very difficult to know, very difficult to understand. Oh, I will put it in this way. You have a fast-growing tumor in your brain. Knowing that you have a tumor is good or bad. So something like that, so this is a tumor. It's a growing. So that knowledge, understanding, I must be motivated, I am not motivated. That is a good thing or bad thing. Accordingly, we have to work out the question rather than going to have a universal answer for everything. No such thing. You have to circumstantially, you have to handle the situation.
How is being mindfulness helping you making any crucial decisions in life?
When you are mindful, you are not deciding. The decision is the point where you get committed and you are answerable. Life is never threatening you to decide. You are threatening the life to decide. If it is so, how the animals thrive? How the animals maintain, sustain? No decision. They don't have parliaments, they don't have constitution, they don't have any bullshit. And they are living very nicely. And people, human, they make parliament, they make constitution, they make decision, and the biggest joke is, they call this is a human world. If a cockroach is going to write, it will write it's a cockroach world. There's the rules and regulations. If a crocodile is going to write a report, and it will say it is a crocodile world. So we feel we are the human and we are the people running. And we are the people with full of tension and frustration. Animals are no decision, no frustration. And one Indian speaker, he used to say, the most of this frustration and tension is because money and the marriage. If there is no these two not available, no tension, no frustration. Whenever you invented money, full of problems, inflation. Animals they don't have. And whenever you have married life, so much of divorce. So animals do not have any divorce. There is no marriage. So likewise, whenever these two come into that is what you call civilization, so much of problems. So therefore, one person wrote it in a very nice way, evenly suspended attention, that's not full alert, but suspended decisions. Don't rush to a decision. Accumulate as much as information, and then the decision will come naturally. And if you are a mathematician, don't try to find an answer. Just read the question. If you will read the question, answer is within. Don't rush to work it out. First see the question, first read the sum, and answer is there. So, therefore, more and more you to meditate, you will increase the feasibility study, possible alternatives, rather than rushing with the rational knowledge, with your inferential knowledge, instead more information. So that is the way the mindfulness is going to work. And in China, and maybe in Japan also, they are presenting it as a Taoism. Tao? Can someone give a little explanation about Taoism? You know Tao? Taoism? That's a natural unfolding. Never intervene. So you are like a flower. So the Taoism and mindfulness is going very, very parallel. Let the thing happen, you try to adopt into the situation rather than adjusting the situation. Science got mistaken because it is going to adjust. And then ultimately the environmental pollution and all the problems. But you have huge capacity to adopt into the situation. That is what we are learning in Girl Guides and the Boy Scouts. You adopt. Improvisation. No much of a decision. Life become a fun. Once you decide, you have to live up to that. You are getting committed. So when you come to the meditation retreat, everything decided. Which time you must get up. What is the breakfast? What is the sitting time? What is the walking time? Everything. Just let that happen. And then you get enough time, if you know how to make you sit in a constructive way. So therefore, do away with as much as possible with decision and adapt into the situation and circumstances. And you find you become like a water. When you pour into the cup, it takes the shape of the cup. And always flat. It's go to the deepest layer. There is no other alternative. So it is, mind become like a water. Take the shape of the cup.
And this last question, I don't think it is relevant here. It's all about other isms.
And
it will take ages to answer only, I suppose. But to be fair by the person, not that I select one out of 6 is ask, can Westerners come to your monastery in Sri Lanka to cultivate? If yes, how long can, and what is the process of applying?
So in the website we have a manual for the newcomers, and we request, if possible, give us 2 weeks, adopt into our food and the climate, and do a little bit of meditation. Then we will decide whether you will fit into that. Or we have 5-6 Westerners already ordained, and already some decided to be monks, and they can be a role model for you. Or otherwise visit www.nissarana.lk and read the survival kit for the newcomers. Or otherwise write an email to me or Halahakon, Vincent, and we can send it you. You can read the manual while you are at your place and decide where you can do. We have the history of about 30 years with Westerners, and most of the rules and regulations presented by our Western brothers live with us. So better thing is to read it, being in your place, and then decide.
Yes, one other one qualifies. For how long do you suggest that the cultivator study each of the 4, and which one should we study first?
So I learned the scientific subject and I became a monk at the age of 36. By that time I had fair understanding about the suttas. So I went and met my teacher, Vanaya. I told I am happy to directly read the teaching of the Buddha. Where to start? He told, start with the middle length sayings, Majjhima Nikaya, Venerable Bodhi has translated everything into English, and it is each and every sutta is related to meditation. So to start best, and out of that also, Satipatthana Sutta, Kayagata Sati Sutta, Anapanasati Sutta is like a prescription. Someone to directly go into meditation. So safely we can say Majjhima Nikaya is the best thing to start with.
Questions are over.
So 10 minutes left behind. If you have any other more statements or questions or any other clarification, listen.
Good afternoon. Is it hypocritical to take the precepts once in a while? In other words, I'm on vacation. I think I'll have a drink. I'm not going to take the precepts while I'm in Bali, whatever. As a layperson, how to balance that? Is there a way to balance it, or is it something that matters?
You can get restrained with precepts or without precepts. I mean, not to kill. Without precepts, you can just do it out of compassion, or whatever it may be. Not to steal, not to have sexual misconduct, and all the kind of thing, with precepts and without precepts. So when I started, I am already broken all the precepts, purposefully. And I reported to my teacher, luckily he was an Australian monk. He told, no problem, because the young characters are always like that, but you just start mindfulness. Then I told, no, how to be mindful without precepts? That's the way we are taught in Sunday schools. Then he told, never mind, I am giving you the permission. Just try to start mindfulness. So I started mindfulness, and slowly, I found that I am a precept holder without taking precepts. And that was very helpful for me to not to expose that I am meditating, not to expose that I am holding precepts. I am a robust young man, angry young man, living in the normal society. But lucky enough, I had enough chances to report to my teacher in a personal basis, and it was a very sound start. And when I become a monk, under Venerable Jnanarama, he says, Samadhaya Sikkhata Sikkha Padesu. Whenever you do good thing, do with the declaration. That means take precepts and live up to precepts. Till that you have a time for testing whether I can hold just by reciting, or am I really live up to that. So likewise you can do experimenting. The traditional way it says, first have precepts, first have moral restraint and then mindfulness. But there's a one sutta in the Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, without mindfulness, without being mindful, without mindfulness, you don't know even the do's and don'ts. The healthy shame and the healthy fear. So therefore, if you are holding precepts without mindfulness, that is just ritualistic rather than organic, you feel it. To feel you to organic, you must have moral shame and the moral fear. The killing is bad because you don't wish others to come and kill you. Stealing and misappropriation is bad, which you are not expecting others to do it to you. So likewise, you can put them into other shoes and see, and there your moral responsibility come into being. You become sensitive whenever you become mindful. Otherwise, there is no bookkeeping. There is no account. There is no internal audit system. And once that moral shame and the moral fear come into being, then you feel like restraining faculties. Looking each and everything, or you just restrain your seeing and looking, which is conducive for mindfulness. Instead of listening all the possible things, restrain it to within the comfort zone. And the sensual and sexual pleasure, and stealing, the lying, harsh words, slandering, tale carrying, and drinking. Everything there's no abrupt 100% restraint. This is slowly. You are restraining with pros and cons. That mindfulness is the one, see the advantage and disadvantage. It is related to the first motivational theory. Many people think from 100% bad to 100% correct. So this is the idiot mind. You have to understand slow development. But the society is very impatient. Whenever you declare you are holding precept, they think you are like a saint, you are living on the sky. And now you have to live up to that. It become a crucifixion. You will be held up with the crucifix. Instead, try yourself without formally accepting or formally declaring, and when and where you possible, you have option. You can declare precept holder or undeclared. So likewise, present day, that is what happened. You take mindfulness and keep on practicing. While practicing, slowly you will be uplifted. You will be cultured. You will be sensitive in the moral values, do's and don'ts. When you are traveling, you must know what are the do's in this society and don'ts. Otherwise you are in trouble. So therefore, don't take precepts for the taking of precepts. You must understand technically what is the meaning of it. And if it is not so, best thing is relinquish it and give into your feelings and knowing disadvantages. Knowing disadvantages, you are doing is what you call the experimenting within yourself. So there you have to be very sympathetic about yourself. Then you can understand why other people are doing mistakes. Very clearly, under your very nose you can understand. So my teacher, Venerable Jnananda, used to say, I can't find any mistake done by others which I have never done myself. Every mistake we have done. But when others are doing, we take punishment. And when we are doing ourselves, we are very sympathetic. So that is the cheating mind. So when the mindfulness comes, you understand how unfair we are when we are measuring the others' things and when we are measuring one's own. Mindfulness don't care whether it is external or internal. So your sensitivity increases. So therefore, mindfulness, going with restraint and without restraint, both valid.
Bhante, I wanted to ask about the improvement of memory. If you can speak a little bit more, especially for people with injuries, like traumatic injuries, or people who are starting to get Alzheimer's or dementia, how can they improve their memory? Thank you.
The way the Buddha defined the mindfulness, sati, chirakatampi chirabhasitampi sarita anusarita. The Buddha says, whatever you do mindfully, even after long time, whatever you did, whatever you say, you can remember clearly, because one thing at a time and that done well. So remembering is there. But regarding this Alzheimer and kind of thing, for the moment, according to my understanding, there is no direct remedy. And there's one Deutsche company, they made a film known as Free the Mind. They are dealing with some autistic children and give very simple techniques and remove their fear by mindful games and kind of thing. So before falling into that kind of a memory-related question, if they had been mindful, much better. But after fallen into this trap, very difficult to introduce mindfulness. Very difficult to teach it. So that is why I promote much about the preventive kind of mindfulness rather than therapeutic. So if you are doing something wholeheartedly, the memory can retain and not in a distracting manner, in the constructive manner it can be remain. So whenever we are promoting mindfulness for children, mindful schools, we say if you practice mindfulness, your memory capacity will be increasing, and whatever you do, you are concentrated to that. When you are doing playing, play. When you are studying, you are studying. And people, the children themselves, on their feedback, they say with mindfulness, mind is balanced, so really helpful in remembering in the exams, studies-wise. But in my case, I found I am coming from a family very, very, how do you call, sharp in mathematics and all the subjects. I was the black sheep. I was not happy with my education. And somehow the other, lucky enough, I went to the university. Second year, while I am doing scientific subject, that I met that American, the Australian monk. I attracted to him due to his white skin, not due to the Buddhism or not due to the mindfulness. And luckily he kicked me out. He told me, get out, you are a useless fellow. So it was a challenge for me. Then he told, if you are mindful, we will be a friend. So that came. And then onward, I found that my creativity, memory, everything is increasing. I worked with 6 years with a Norwegian fellow, and he told the way that you are tackling the issues. No tension. I was doing labor management, security, research and development, productivity, foreign dealings, and every time I am fresh. So one day he came and sit with me and told, please tell me, give me the secret. Then I told, I don't know. I think one thing at a time and that done well. So this is how it happened. This is my life experience. And most of my batchmates either died or they are with the terminal diseases now. I am just starting. I am just learning. I am learning much from the young children. With Satipasala, with the mindful school, you won't believe the way they give. And they are relating to this also in education and sports and everything. You are connected to the Akash library, cosmic library. Whenever you are mindful, the knowledge comes. Nothing to remember. You are get connected with, they call Akash library. The modern technology says, your RNA, DNA carries the whole history of humanity. All the evolutions took place, every record is there in the RNA, DNA, not only in the brain, whole body. So therefore, whenever you become mindful, they put it in simple English, they say, you know how to tap the body knowledge. When you are sitting, you happily sit. And the person knows how to sit comfortably. Not with the foreign experts. Wherever the situation happens, you just ask your body. Body knowledge, not the book knowledge, not what you remembered. Of course, they may be helpful, but be aware, face through the situation, body knows. Likewise, you become independent, you become a source of information and knowledge, and you believe and contented, I can face any situation. So that confidence is much more than the wisdom or the knowledge you are gaining from the books. So if you wish to tap your body knowledge or to gain the cosmic connection, or they call Akash library, just simply do nothing and just be aware the situation. Then the connection happens. I am repeating that you can't study, that you can't learn once you become damaged with your brain or any kind of physical diseases, difficult. So therefore, when you are in the prime age, prime mental health, give priority to the mindfulness, and ultimately mindfulness will take care about the balance. So the Buddha says, Dhammo have rakhati dhammachari. If you protect the mindfulness, mindfulness is in return will protect you.
Bhante, just a follow-up question. Is there any value in declaring that you're taking the precepts? I'm trying to split side of that question.
Because when we are living in a society, when we are doing something declared, it's a social message. People don't believe that you can't live without killing. People don't believe that you can't live without stealing. People don't believe that you can't live without sexual misconduct, lying, slandering, because it becomes a norm. When you practice with declared way, we become a challenge for that kind of a people. There are a little proportion, they take it in a positive way, constructive way. But otherwise they don't know. There's such a possibility, such a tradition, such a things available. So when you declare, you are a living model, a role model to people to say, there may be some mistakes, but you can easily, happily can live without killing, stealing, sexual misconduct and lying, slandering, tail carrying, and without, even if he's going to take little drink, I can live without a drink. So this declaration is a vibration going outside. It's a silent sermon. So, and you also get moral boost because you are living up to this restraint. So your creativity is not to go for indulgence of the sense pleasure, but to how to manage within the capacity what you is given. How can I adopt and still be contented?
Good afternoon. So I think that when we declare ourselves, essentially set our goals ourselves too. Besides, we tell our friends that we have such and such, but also set it. But I have a small questions about the precept itself. One of them is restraining from listening to music. And as we sit here, we hear a lot of sound. We hear a lot of music, but not as in music, but we see a lot of sounds around us. Like the charming, when we go from here to the dining hall, hear the chimes. In the morning early, we hear the bell ringing. Are they hearing music, and what is the significance of it? What is the sound?
Or not only the music, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, everything. Listening and hearing, do you know the difference? So what is the difference between listening and hearing?
That's a part of you.
Part of?
Part of you.
Yeah.
The action, intended.
Yeah. So there may be a concert here. You can be mindful about your sitting. Or instead you can get up and go and dance and go with the music. So listening and hearing, seeing and looking, the other smelling, tasting, touching, active participation and passive participation.
But may I say that, say the bell itself is music?
So bearing up with that your intention is there, your will is there. You just leave it aside. Mind your own business, you do walking. Musics are there. So when that happens, you are walking in a heavy rain, but you are with a raincoat.
Good afternoon, again.
Yeah.
One very quick question. For me, when I practicing what they call the primary objective, it's like breathing, breathe in, breathe out. And I heard some people told me that when you breathe, they use counting the number. For example, 1, 2, 3 to breathe in, 3, 4, 5, 6 to breathe out, something like that. However, some other people told me that don't count it, just concentrate, focus, breathe in, breathe out, don't count it. I just want to know which way is better.
So when you give a free try to breathe with the breath, being as the primary object, if the mind is naturally going with the in-breath and out-breath, counting is not necessary. If you wish to keep the mind face-to-face with that particular object, and wandering mind, daydreaming, fantasizing, everything happens, then counting will bring you a little face-to-face situation. But masters say, counting is working only when the mind is wandering too much of thinking. Not with the sound, not with the pain, not with daydreaming. If the thinking is happening, counting will be a direct answer. You count in breath, out breath 1, in breath, out breath 2, in breath, out breath 3. Likewise, you go up to 5 or 6 or 7 and come back again. 2, 3 cycles time, you can see you are more to the breath rather than the thinking. So the counting it is mentioned in Visuddhimagga, that is the traditional framework of the Theravada, Pusana, Ganana, Tapana, Anubandhana. The Ganana means counting. But it is used only for the thinking. If your mind is wandering with too much of thinking, counting is good. But you may see morning, your mind is very calm and quiet with the breath. But the evening may be too much of thinking. So even you are the same person, morning you need not any counting, evening you may. Imagine that you are come to sit after a kind of a turbulent. Mind is astray and is going to the past and there you have to do little counting. And whenever the mind becomes docile, mind becomes calm, you can practice without counting. I can't hear. Please check the mic.
The mind and the conscious, what's the difference between those two? I heard the conscious is there after your death. It's going through the, away from your body. Is that true?
So whenever we try to give a particular name for a particular thing, that come under the permanent notion. But they are not so. They are changing. Whatever the definition you are going to give, they are not live up to your definition. They are changing. The mind, the consciousness, the chitta, mana, vijnana. Many things you use. And one monk, when Vajnanasiya, try to see the evolution. Mana become chitta, the consciousness is the common term, and mana is the unpolluted situation, and once you become polluted, it's called chitta, and likewise it's going there. But whatever it may be, whenever you try to reduce the phenomena into one single term, you are with the permanent notion, only linear analysis you can do. But the things are not happening in the linear way, it is happening in the matrix. So your definition is good for here and now, but tomorrow it is not. It's not to the other person. So wherever you are going to write something, get caught up. So that is why in the Zen Buddhism, it says Taoism, it says whatever you can express is never be the eternal Tao. So within this limited capacity we can say, often consciousness and the mind is used as synonyms.
I have a question about mindfulness. I read that mindfulness is the first of the 7 factors of enlightenment. So in that case, it is like a preliminary factor. But then somewhere else I read that in the Eightfold right view is like a forerunner, and then it sort of gradually leads to the later factors. And then somewhere else I read that in each of the 8, they are circled by right view, right mindfulness, and right effort in order to develop each of the 8 factors. So what I was wondering is that there's a lot of emphasis on mindfulness alone, but I was wondering if right view and right effort are both also important, or is one preliminary, and I'm a little bit confused about what to focus on in this video.
When you look at the whole Tripitaka presentation, mindful appear in 8 places, is evolving 8 times, starting with the mindfulness with your body, and then mindfulness with the pain, feelings, and then the mind, and then the other phenomena, and the mindfulness as a faculty, mindfulness as a power, mindfulness as a factor of enlightenment, mindfulness as a factor of Eightfold Path. So when it is happening, you have to define which mindful you are talking about. Mindfulness is not, as I mentioned to her, it's not a hard and fast fixed definition. As you continue, mindfulness evolves. So anything living is evolving. But our education system is linear. It is fixing. Once fixed, you get fixed. So you have to understand the system approach and the reductionism. You have to understand the linear approach and the matrix. So therefore, don't try to reduce mindfulness into one single definition. As you keep on practicing, you have to understand, keep the mind open. And in this particular book, I recommended the power of mindfulness. Whenever Jnanaponika is trying to still a lower situation, he says, just bare attention is enough. Bare attention will assume the status of mindfulness with the body, the materiality, and with the feelings, and with the mind, and with the rest of the phenomena. Likewise, it's evolving. So keep it open. It is not a confusion. Anything living is changing the definition.
Thank you for the explanation. One thing thinking that shows in the 7 factors of enlightenment, mindfulness is first, and then effort, like investigation and then effort. So sometimes I would use like choiceless awareness or not having volition. 2 things come to my mind. One is that is volition involved in developing mindfulness? And number 2, once there is a little bit of mindfulness, whether you put in effort after that based on that mindfulness, or do you just stop at mindfulness without effort?
The volition is necessary at the beginning as a hiatus, as a catalyzer, but later it must be effortless. And energy aspect, the fuel, at the beginning it takes so much of energy, but it becomes an effortless way, it becomes a second nature. So the early part is consuming so much of energy. You need the push, you need the motivation. That's a part very difficult. Just like the plane, before airborne, you must understand how much the momentum it is gathering along the runway. And then only it can become airborne. The weight becomes less and less when the speed increases and the shape increases. So that when you go there, ultimately so much of a weight, it becomes airborne. Likewise, the mindfulness at the beginning is just like a car. When the speed gathering, there's aerodynamics changes are happening. So that is why very difficult to write a technical writings on mindfulness. You can give us some dot lines, not a continuous line, and you have to put into practice. And then discuss and dialogue with the other, then only you can adjust it. Very difficult to write A to Z kind of a linear system. And that is why in the Buddhism you have so much of voluminous amount of books. But even after reading everything, still you may be confused. But when you are practicing, just like a driver knows which gear is to use for according the ramp and the weight and the horsepower, engineer can't predict beforehand. The driver had to use experience and then do it, and it is happening naturally. It is not calculating. It's happening. That is the difference between theory and the practice. Okay, we have taken about 20 minutes more than the due. So we have about 40 minutes for walking meditation, and we'll be meeting here at about 4 o'clock for another group sitting. Thank you very much for the participation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.